Alright, working on the door again. I took it apart. I'll be putting it back together. This will be the third time. This time I'm going a little more fit and finish. I squared off these holes better, rounded off the edges, smoothed off the inside, and thought I'd show this. Somebody on the forum talked about how he took the screws out of here, pulled this plate off, and moved this over so it's not bound up so hard up against the bottom. Move it over to this hole right here, and that's the kind of thing you find out on that forum. It's pretty cool. Everybody shares information like that, but that'll be a good deal to be able to move that so that cable's not bound up. And all you got to do is pull that spring back and move it over, let it back in again, is done. And then I'm going to put the bars in here. I got them painted up and get that bolted back in, and then I'll start getting the window to where it'll roll up and down. Got the door back on again, and you know, when you're first fitting the door, the outside of it, there's a lot of it that needs to be changed. Probably the first thing when you hang the door on there is to make sure that the gap around the inside is even all the way around. It seems kind of weird ignoring all the other stuff, but that's stuff you're going to end up changing anyway probably, and that's something that you can't change, is that gap in there. And if you want to try and seal up that door at all, that's your best chance of getting it to seal when that's even all the way around there. And then I'd tape the door in the hole to begin with, so you got to try and figure out where to poke the holes through the door for the hinges. And I just put the door up there, and you can see where the hinges want to be when they come off the frame, and I just drew a line on the back of the door, and that's where I knew where to start to poke the hole through. And then you mount up all your hardware, bolt it up in there, and you want to fit the door without the striker, of course. See, I had that on there already, and still I got to refit this thing and move it around. And you want to get it to where the striker, where the door. Alright, still working on the door. I had to redo this. I had some old fiberglass resin sitting around for years. I thought it'd still be good, but I guess the some of it must have evaporated, changed it, because it didn't want to harden up. So anyways, I ground that back out, went and got some good stuff, and that's good to go. Got that lined up with my window again, and now I'm working on the window, and this is fun. I got this part cut out. I'm going to shave the door handles, put a door popper inside there in the latch. So I'll end up covering that up with a piece of glass and seal that up. And one of the guys on the forum was talking about how he took the regulator apart and changed the point where this thing came out at so it wasn't in such a bind. Then he also said he indexed it, and I didn't know what he meant by indexing it. Figured I'd find out when the time come. So it was kind of funny, I was pulling this out to change it and the whole thing came apart. So watch out, guys. But it may be necessary to take it apart anyway, and you have to pull this pulley out, turn it on the gears one way or another to get those tracks lined up. And it's kind of overwhelming trying to get that window in there and line it up, and knowing where to mount the tracks. So been sitting there looking at this thing quite a while trying to figure it out, and after I opened up that regulator and it all fell apart, I figured I might as well just leave the regulator out, let the cables be loose, and tape the window in its spot, bolt the tracks up to the window, and get the tracks kind of mounted where I want them, so at least it's holding the window in the shut position. And then I'm going to worry about hooking the regulator back up to it, putting the power to it, and getting it to go up and down, making sure I have clearances at the bottom for the window to roll down. So this is a interesting part of the build here. Kind of challenging to get that all to line up just right, and we'll see what happens. But kind of right there is where I want it to go. The glass doesn't quite fit the hole, and this could have been a little bit longer here. Can't really go up anymore because I'll be pinched tight, but it'll be alright. And it's all laying up against the felt all the way, even right here on this part of the door. So if I can get the glass bolted to the tracks and have it sit in that position, I'll be halfway home. Then I just got to worry about rolling up and down. So that's where I'm at with that part. Now I got the window in there. I got this side mounted now. First place I started was right there. I just kind of guessed right in the center, put that in there, move that up, started there, found out I needed to go here a little bit, and this spot here is still loose, and it's sitting in there pretty good. I'm going to end up having to weld a bracket onto this and sucking this in tight, because up here it will suck up tight on the seal. And this side over here, I might push that out just a touch, because when I push that out, that actually wants to swing this side in. So I think a combination of twisting that a little bit is going to help me out. This part here is rubbing up against the glass, so I'm probably going to have to take that out, bend that a bit so it's pushing away from the glass, and it's right up against the felt. Still working on the window, and it's a pain in the ass. The tracks have quite a bend in them, and you know, I can get it to where it sucks up tight, but then when the window starts to come down, still really pushing in hard. So I'm going to take the bow out of this track, and that's what I wanted to show you here. I took that apart, heated this up, and then just pushed on each end nice and easy, and took the bow out of that thing. And so hopefully when I put that back in there, it's not going to have at such an angle trying to push it in. It's going to let it come down more natural position, I hope. So we'll see. I'm going to put it back in and try it. Well, I made quite a bit of progress today, and not anywhere near done. got that window where it's sitting in there. And let's see here if I can set this camera up here. So I got that where it'll go. Up and down. And I got all the tracks mounted on there. I had to do some cutting down in here to clearance that area, and I'll have to glass that in. And I had to heat this up, get it a different angle. I had to weld a different spot on here I'm going to use to mount that. And I still got a little more adjusting to do on the shims here and there, but it does go up and down, and it's at a pretty good spot. When it goes up, it wants to fall right in the hole, and when I shut it, lines up pretty good. Still some problems though. The glass doesn't quite fit the hole. When it rolls down, when the door is shut, it wants to go down that way, start rubbing against here. So I still got a lot of work to do on this window. Pretty challenging to get that thing to fit in there. You know, then I got to put the regulator back together and all that. So lots of work to do still.